Israel is not negotiating with Hezbollah. Whatever the Lebanese government agrees to do about Hezbollah, I don't think they're going to be able to achieve it. The only thing that is going to make a difference to that is either the dismantling of Hezbollah or the continued presence of the IDF in southern Lebanon. The conflict essentially between Hezbollah and Israel has been going on since Hezbollah was first formed by Iran in Lebanon in the 1980s. And since then, Hezbollah has progressively taken over, shall we say, large elements of the government of Lebanon. And they've become a kind of almost a shadow government with a stronger army than the Lebanese armed forces have. And their predominant role is obviously to essentially occupy, even you could say to colonize Lebanon on behalf of Iran, with the primary aim of being a weapon against Israel. And they've not only attacked Israel, they've also carried out attacks against American troops in Lebanon in their early days. They've launched attacks overseas in a number of different countries, terrorist attacks, of course. They're certainly a threat to the state of Lebanon and have caused enormous suffering in Lebanon. They're certainly a threat to the state of Israel, and they've killed a large number of civilians in Israel over the years. There have been continuous conflicts between Hezbollah and the IDF. The real reason why Hezbollah exists with such a huge amount of rocketry, which they've got thousands upon thousands, some people say about 150,000 rockets in their armory, maybe not now, but a couple of years ago. And the whole purpose of that was to launch attacks against Israel, and they had the capability of firing rockets down the entire length of Israel from north to south in the event of Israeli operations against Iran. They were a deterrent, and they were also a reaction force. And it didn't really work out too well because Israel very badly damaged Hezbollah. And Hezbollah didn't really have the courage to significantly attack Israel in the two different operations that took place between Israel and Iran last year. This year, since this war began between the US, Israel, and Iran, since this particular campaign began, shall we say, Hezbollah has been much more active, and they've been firing large numbers of missiles into Israel, and Israel has been carrying out enormous degradation of Hezbollah. And Hezbollah still exists. Hezbollah is still capable of fighting, but the Israelis have essentially they've written down Hezbollah probably to somewhere around about 20 to 30% of its original strength, and that includes killing large numbers of its leaders, killing many of its fighters, and wounding others, and destroying huge amounts of their infrastructure and their munitions. The fighting has been pretty intense in Lebanon, certainly for the last few weeks. And essentially, Hezbollah took over, a little bit like Hamas in Gaza. They took over large amounts of civilian houses and schools and buildings, other buildings and infrastructure, to launch attacks against Israel from. More often than not, like Hamas, they will dress in civilian clothes. So it's quite hard to actually locate and identify them without specific intelligence, which Israel's actually quite good at. But visual identification of Hezbollah terrorists is no easier than against Hamas. The terrain that they're fighting on, particularly in southern Lebanon, where most of the action's been taking place so far, is very, very different from Gaza. It's often mountainous, very, very hard terrain, and it gives plenty of opportunities for Hezbollah terrorists to launch ambushes and other forms of attack against Israel from the cover of the natural terrain. Israel, on the other hand, have got very large armored forces and infantry forces as well, and artillery and air forces, which are attacking Hezbollah inside Lebanon. And I think one of their key cards is pretty much the same as their key card in Gaza, which is intelligence. They've got the most extraordinary intelligence capabilities. I think probably better battlefield intelligence and strategic intelligence than any other country in the world. And they've been bringing that to bear against Hezbollah very effectively. And earlier this month, there was an extraordinary, spectacular attack in which the IDF launched a massive concurrent airstrikes against Hezbollah terrorists, killing, no one knows exactly how many, but killing an estimated 250 or so Hezbollah terrorist leaders, mainly leaders, inside Lebanon at the same time, almost within a space of about 5 to 10 minutes. And that was obviously not possible without the most sophisticated intelligence you could have. So Israel's definitely making a huge impact on Hezbollah and doing a lot of damage to them, but there's still a great deal of fighting to be done yet. Well, I think obviously there's different ways of dealing with an enemy that is intent on killing you, which Hezbollah is in the case of Israel. Just as Hamas was in Gaza, their intent is the destruction of Israel. And there's different ways of dealing with that. The first, obviously, the most direct way, which we've seen largely so far, is by military attack of one form or another. But then there is also negotiation. And negotiation can lead to a pause in hostilities. I think it very rarely in this kind of scenario leads to an end of hostilities, but it can lead to a pause. In this case, Israel is not negotiating with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is obviously a terrorist organization recognized as such in many countries in the world, including in the UK. And Israel is not inclined to negotiate directly with terrorists. And what Israel's doing at the moment is looking to negotiate with the Lebanese government to perhaps bring about a ceasefire, pending the Lebanese government taking apart Hezbollah. So it wouldn't be, we'll just have a ceasefire, we'll stop firing, and we'll allow what happened the last time with the ceasefire, which was started in 2020, at the end of 2024. And that allowed Hezbollah to regain some of the strength it had lost. This time, I think the discussions are going to be all about how the Lebanese government is going to get rid of Hezbollah. So I don't think we're probably not going to see a full-on ceasefire that lasts for any length of time. And the other thing I don't think we're going to see as a result of these negotiations is the withdrawal of the IDF from southern Lebanon. I think they have pretty much established a buffer zone between northern Israel and Hezbollah. So they've taken out a lot of Hezbollah infrastructure, cleared out many Hezbollah fighters, and are in the process of doing that now from southern Lebanon, and will want to maintain that as a buffer zone to prevent direct attacks, including attacks using anti-tank guns inside Lebanon towards Israel against civilian population very often. And also, of course, the potential for Hezbollah fighters to infiltrate down through the Lebanese border into Israel itself, which they've tried before. And so I think that situation is likely to be unchanged. Some kind of ceasefire, possibly, pending maybe a longer-term stability if the Lebanese government actually do manage to dismantle Hezbollah. But meanwhile, a significant Israeli presence, a military presence in southern Lebanon. Well, UNIFIL, the United Nations interim force in Lebanon, has been there for many years, and they've achieved almost precisely nothing. Their role was to do what the IDF are now trying to do, which is to prevent Hezbollah from having a significant military presence in southern Lebanon. That was their entire function, and they didn't achieve it or anything like it. And of course, they were never going to achieve it, because normally on this type of mission, the UN does not engage in combat action with one side or the other. They simply try and negotiate and de-escalate situations when they're occurring. Well, actually, in the case of UNIFIL in southern Lebanon, they didn't really do that either. And Hezbollah were building infrastructure right under their noses without any action being taken by the United Nations. And that's one of the reasons why we've got into this position we're in now, because the United Nations in southern Lebanon has been entirely ineffective. And I don't personally see any change to that. I think even if they increased the number of UNIFIL soldiers in Lebanon. It's not going to make any difference to the threat that Israel faces from Hezbollah. The only thing that is going to make a difference to that is either the dismantling of Hezbollah or the continued presence of the IDF in southern Lebanon.